guys, it's Nora and I'm back today to share with you guys things that have gone wrong in our apartment since we've moved in that we've had to fix. Because we're not perfect people. We built an apartment, but with any construction, things are going to go wrong, and so we are going to obviously fix them, and I want to share with you guys everything that has happened. So we're going to start off in the bedroom. The two major things both include water, and the first thing that happened was we found out a few months ago that Jacob had a backpack, a computer bag, and I think something else under his side of the closet, under where his clothing was, and I think I had gone under there to pick up like some dropped hangers or something, and we noticed that the bag was completely molded, as well as a laptop bag. And yesterday when we were going through his clothes, we also had found a pair of pants that was extremely molded, but nothing else around them that was touching them was molded. I'm not really sure exactly what started the mold, if the backpack was maybe like wet, or like maybe it was raining when he had it and put it under there, or if we didn't dry these pants fully. And we also don't like know when specifically it started. The other weird thing is that there ended up being like a tiny bit of mold on the trim board behind the closet, which that I quickly just cleaned off. And there was no mold on the trim board in the closet though. There was no mold on the floor, and there was no mold on the wall. So it was a bit weird. And there's also been no mold on my side, and all of my clothing has been perfectly fine. So to combat that, what we did is we have a damp raid hanging back there, and we change it, I'd say probably every 6 weeks or so. It fills up, and that has, since we've put it in, fixed that problem. Moving on to the other problem, and no, we did not make our bed for this, because don't make our bed. You can't really see it, but up here there is a water stain. And that happened after a long day of raining. It turned out to be something that like wasn't sealed properly, because right outside this wall, not blocking our window at all, but right outside here is the whole pump for the heat pump. And that also is not just our heat pump, it is two of them that are also upstairs. And for some reason, things like weren't sealed exactly as best as they could have been. And because of that, a bunch of water ended up, there's like a plastic sheet that kind of goes out to here in there, and so something had dripped in. It was sitting on the plastic sheet, and then it was dripping into this ceiling tile, but it hadn't happened until a few months ago, so I don't know how we managed to make it through that, especially with the snow. But to fix that, we went out, we had people reseal it, and we put, at one point we had like a bowl in there to catch anything, and I don't think there's anything in there now, but it hasn't happened, and it's obviously like right now we're getting a hurricane. It looks like it's going strong. We haven't had any problems since. Moving on to the living room next. So in the like living room kitchen area, because it's more the kitchen area, we actually haven't had any problems in the living room area. The kitchen sink, weirdly enough, we had sealed it properly and done everything to it. It has a sump pump directly underneath it in this cabinet right here on this side, but for some reason a few months ago we were cleaning our humidifier, and what we do is we fill up the entire sink and then we submerge it in water and bleach, and we noticed that there was a leak. We couldn't particularly determine like where specifically it was, so we ended up having to completely seal that, and we haven't tested it out yet, but we haven't cleaned the humidifier, so let's hope that that's resealed. As well as in the top corner over here, and Jacob doesn't need to film it because it looks exactly like that, but we had some problems where there was like, I think either condensation on the window or condensation on the plastic that was up there but on this side, and their wall had like a little perspiration on it, and then we took the piece back off of, it's actually plastic, it's not wood, this inside piece, and so we took that piece off, and then there was a little bit of like wood stain with water, so we ended up just like leaving that piece of plastic down for the wood to dry out. We dried it out, we put the plastic back up with a little more insulation in there, as well as the windows, because they had so much perspiration on them because they're only a single pane. We ended up having to put on like a film that people usually put on in winter, but we just put it on full time, and so far there's been no actual perspiration, as you can see on the window. And we also had the same problem kind of in the top corner of the, like the top right corner of the door over there. What happened was I ended up seeing a little bit of like water droplets on the ceiling above there, and so I said something to Tina and Jerry, and they just put more insulation up there and fixed that right up, and we haven't had any problems with that since either. There's also not been any problems with like the laundry area or the bunnies since we've had the apartment. I wanted to do the bathroom last because the bathroom has been the bane of the entire family's existence Specifically, starting off with the toilet. Now, the toilet, if you guys remember, has a sump pump as well as the kitchen sink and the shower. This one has its own specifically. The kitchen sink and the shower are on their own separately. We originally had the sump pump on the inside. It was super loud. I didn't like it. I would like flush and like run if it was to go off. I think it also scared some of our guests. And so that sump pump has had multiple problems with it. It started off with the toilet paper was clogging. Like tiny, tiny little bits of piece of paper that shouldn't be clogging were clogging it. So originally we had that eco-friendly toilet paper, the bamboo, and it dissolved pretty well actually, but it was just building up and building up. So we switched to RV dissolvable, and we were putting some chemicals in the toilet just to help it dissolve everything and kill everything. Well, that wasn't good enough for this sump pump. And there was also some kind of like bearing in it that like wasn't, it was either like not there or wasn't working. That was plastic or it broke. I don't know, something happened with it. We ended up replacing it luckily. It worked for a little bit and then it started like clogging. We'd fix it like, and then a day later or 2 days later, it was clogging every freaking week, if not every other day. So it was such a hassle to end up having the sump pump on this side and it being loud that we ended up moving it onto the other side, and there is now just a piece of like wood blocking where it was. And it's so much more accessible out there, so much easier to get to, so much easier to clean. It's still causing us problems. At one point, there's supposed to be like a flap, and then there's like the motor, and at one point we had a problem with it, wouldn't like flush, I don't know, something was wrong with it, and it was, the motor wasn't running, and so they opened it up, and like it somehow disassembled itself, like inside, like the motor came apart, and the flap, I think, got sucked out, and so we've had to put another like check valve flap kind of thing, and overall, it's been a very lengthy and angry thing to deal with. The shower is the last part of the apartment that has caused some major issues. Specifically, it started off with the handle. The handle was kind of loose. It almost seemed as if like you could move it around and jerk it around without actually like changing the water temperature. We don't really know why. Then it started dripping. That was the next big problem, is that the shower head was dripping. So we all thought it was some kind of component because we called the company and we got some piece and we changed it, I want to say, in the handle, and it didn't fix things. And the handle was still wobbly. So we called the company again, we got more pieces, and we changed some kind of like cartridge in the shower head as well as tightened up that handle. And crossing our fingers, it also has not dripped since we've done that. The other major problem with that was that it wasn't like letting everything dry, and there was a lot of water, and we as you can see, we used to have a shower curtain. Now we have a shower door. That was our goal, but we didn't have the money at the time, so we were doing a shower curtain. Well, both the shower curtain and the water dripping was creating a lot of problems. The first big problem is that the water that we have and the city water that we're on has a biofilm in it, and this biofilm is pretty much just bacteria that if it sits for a while and it just sits with like air because it's aerobic, it grows. And so after like 2 or 3 days of it being on surface and it hasn't dried up, it creates like a pink moldy biofilm. And so I purposely didn't clean it so you guys could see this. It's all over like the bottom of the door, and this isn't even like, this isn't that pink, but it will like make the entire bottom of our shower completely pink. And because the shower was dripping, we were having to clean the shower weekly just to get that biofilm off, which is a pain in the butt. It also will stick to the shower head to the point where the water will not be going where it should be because it like clumps on the shower head as well as the faucet heads. So that's something that we were kind of eager to also change because it's just disgusting, it's annoying, and it causes problems. And then when we had the shower curtain, the other major problem that we had happen was because that water was dripping and wasn't clearing up, we put fans in here. We had the actual like fan of the bathroom on. We had everything going, but the water continued to drip down and caused water damage to the floor. So, and it's still going to be, I guarantee you, it's going to be, yeah, still a little wet under here. So, one day I had moved, we had a rug, it just didn't have a rubber bottom, but the water was dripping down anyway, so it didn't really matter what type of rug we had. And this entire part of the floor is completely raised and wet, and it's damaged over here, and it's damaged here and here. And we can't do much about that because we chose to have the same floor in the bathroom as we did as the rest of the apartment. You know, we had extra pieces. I proposed maybe changing it, but or just ripping this part out and maybe just doing a separate flooring for the bathroom. But for now, we decided to just leave it. it's not that huge of a deal. It's not particularly spreading that we can see, and what we did to combat that was completely sealed off all the cracks because the water was accumulating in the cracks, and that's where it was splitting and bubbling up. So we changed our carpet, we sealed that, and we're hoping that we have no more problems with that shower because we haven't had many problems in the apartment, but between the shower and the toilet in one room, it's been a lot. That has been all that we have dealt with. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. We obviously had problems with the apartment, but we've just fixed them as we go, and I'm sure there will be other problems that arise, but there's nothing we can do about it, so we'll just fix it. And we're not perfect. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.